Welcome to Heart Hospice. My name is Beth Brunson. I'm the HR Vice President. This is Linda Grimmer, our HR Director. Welcome to Heart. We're excited that you're here and part of our team. If you have your cell phone with you, please turn your cell phone off. Today, we're going to go through Heart Hospice Effective Relationship Training. We'd like to start with our mission statement, making a difference by providing compassionate care from our heart to enhance the quality of life for those with life-limiting illnesses and their loved ones. We're so excited that you're here today. We have a lot of training about clinical, we have a lot of training about back office. We really go through a lot of training with you during your orientation. This is our people training, so people are part of our lives and in everything that we do. So we want to make sure that you've got some great people training. We wanted to tell you a little bit about how we designed this training. So we took from Emotional Intelligence, which is an excellent resource, and we also have Get Better with Todd Davis. I'm going to cover the Get Better series. There are 15 practices. Todd Davis is the Chief People Officer for Franklin Covey. They're a global people relationship company. And then Linda's going to speak about emotional intelligence. So this is our training overview. We're going to go through the 15 practices of Get Better. Let's get started. Practice 1, wear glasses that work. This practice is really just saying, do you see people for who they are? Are you looking at them accurately? Have you ever discovered that you thought you had the whole truth, but really you just had a small piece of the truth? So we often believe that it's other people that need to change, not us. When we ask you to wear glasses that work, we're saying, are you thinking about it from the person that you're communicating with perspective instead of just your own? So step back, think about the situation from their point of view, and then become an effective communicator. Some of the things that we want to talk about are, we know that we hold incomplete truths. It happens all the time. I think that I have a whole picture, I believe that I have all the truth, and it turns out I really don't have a complete truth. It's just a tiny bit of information that I've made a big decision about. Everybody has a version of truth, so be sure that you're aware that you may not have all the facts. So stop, think, and be respectful of someone else's point of view. Remember that wearing glasses doesn't mean that we're manipulating other people or that we're creating an environment where we're going to manipulate people. This is really just about, how do I better communicate with you, and how can you hear what I need to communicate about the first time? Seek first to understand, then be understood. So really, this is about a person may be different from you. They may have a different education. They may have a different background. Where they grew up, they may have a different language. So it's very possible that they don't understand your message. So be clear and think about it from their perspective. We all have a responsibility to make our company successful. So don't rush to judgment, and slow down and give yourself permission to not have the answer and to not have to have a disaster to change the way you think. Practice 2, carry your own weather. Do you allow other people to decide how you feel? If Linda's mad at me, is that going to change my whole day, or am I going to carry my own weather and decide how I feel? We all have people in our lives that are going to give us triggers. We might have an emotional response. We might say it's fight or flight. Every person, it may not be at work, but it may be in your family, it may be with your friends. You have somebody that is just annoying. They gossip, they're offensive, they interrupt you, they continuously focus on themselves, right? So those are the people that we want to talk about. How do we handle that from a work perspective? Give yourself time to prepare whenever possible. So remember, you don't have to have all the answers in your back pocket. Give yourself some time to prepare. Give yourself a way out of a conversation. We all need to excuse ourselves and maybe take a break, but don't allow an emotional response from another person to affect the conversation. You can always say, we've gotten off topic, let's refocus. Are you thinking about it from their perspective? So that's again, practice 1, wear glasses that work. Have you considered how the other person is feeling? So are you communicating with them in a way that's productive for them? And then always, it's okay to say, I need a moment to gather my thoughts. You don't have to emotionally respond. If you feel those emotions coming up, just take a break. Just give yourself a minute, think it through, and separate yourself from any negative stimulus that you have. And then remember, at work, we use respectful words. We carry even tones, and that even if you have an emotional response, you have to remember that you don't have all the facts. So slow down and think about what you're going to say. It's okay not to have all the answers, but it's never okay to be disrespectful, loud, or aggressive towards your coworkers. So now we're going to visit emotional intelligence. Linda, here you go.
All right, how many of y'all have heard about emotional intelligence? Okay, a few of you. Emotional intelligence has been around and it started gaining popularity really in the early 1980s. And emotional intelligence, what's great about it is that it is something that you can improve upon. Unlike your IQ, emotional intelligence, as you practice it, as you read about it, you will gain a higher score in emotional intelligence. There's a lot of research that has proven that emotional intelligence is tied to happiness in the workplace and happiness in personal lives. So that's one of the reasons we're talking about emotional intelligence today. This is a great book, The Emotional Intelligence 2.0. It will give us some practical skills and ways to improve upon your score, and we'll talk about those today. So, what do you think emotional intelligence is? It's the ability to identify, evaluate, and understand one's emotions. We are all emotional beings. We have a response, an emotional response really to every type of situation that we are in. We really don't even notice it. It's just like breathing. So, as we develop and improve upon our emotional intelligence, we start to better understand how we respond to our own emotions. Also, it's the ability to manage our own emotions and then other people's feelings and emotions and use them to make informed decisions. And then finally, it's a way for us to connect with others in a productive, nurturing way, which is what we all want to do. There are 4 key skills in developing emotional intelligence. The first one is knowing your own emotions, which is that self-awareness. Recognizing your own emotions and how they affect your thoughts and behaviors. It's really just starting to identify what really makes you tick. We are all unique. We all have different backgrounds. We have different upbringings. We have different experiences. And so our reactions and our thoughts are different from one another. So as you learn about what makes you tick and how you respond to your own feelings, it's really helping you to be more self-aware. This isn't really anything about discovering some deep, dark secret about ourselves, but it's just understanding how we respond with different emotions and then learning from that response, which leads us to managing your own emotions, which is self-management. The ability to control impulsive feelings and behaviors and to manage our emotions in a healthy way. So as you learn your emotions and how you respond to those, then you can start to manage those emotions and then be able to have a more effective conversation, a more effective relationship with one another. The third one is recognizing and understanding others' emotions, which is called social awareness. And this can be really hard because we talked about how you're understanding your own emotions, trying to manage those emotions, and then social awareness is understanding how people are responding to the conversation that you're having with them. So you are listening and you're watching their tone of voice, you're watching their body language, you're watching how they're responding to you so then you can manage the way that you're going to respond to them so that together you can have a better, more effective conversation and relationship with one another. So it's recognizing the needs and concerns of others, picking up on those emotional cues, and understanding power dynamics. When we talk about emotional cues, Body language is a big part of communication. It's not just the words that we say, and so we have to be very careful about our body language. What is our body conveying? And as you are managing in your own emotions, you're aware of your body language and how am I being perceived by the other person, and then you're also picking up on other people's body language. So be careful about that. The fourth one is managing the emotions of others, which is basically relationship management, which is bringing all three of these key skills into relationship management. It's communicating clearly to be able to inspire and influence others and work well in a team, which is what we're all called to do, is to work as a team together. One of the reasons that we love Emotional Intelligence 2.0 is because it's an easy book to read. It's a way that you can improve your emotional intelligence score. There's a lot of research that shows that people who have a high emotional intelligence score are happier in their work life, they're happier in their personal life, because it helps you manage the relationships in your life. And we have relationships not only in the workplace but also in our personal life. So when we get to this book, it's going to give us ways that we can improve upon our emotional intelligence score. The first category that we talked about, which is self-awareness, it gives us 15 strategies on ways that we can improve upon self-awareness. So you can come to the book, work on a couple, and then develop those skills, and then come back to the book and keep working through these skills. Just to give you a few examples, under the self-awareness strategies, one of them is observe the ripple effect of your emotions, and understanding that the way that you respond can affect others as well. That's called the ripple effect. If you are in a conversation with someone and it might get heated and someone raises their voice, and you have that conversation with somebody, and then later you go and apologize to that person for the way that you behaved, there might have been other people that witnessed that conversation, and that's called the ripple effect. They were also affected by that conversation. So they might now have a different perception of you or the way that you communicate with others. And so be mindful of who all is around you. You may have to go and apologize to those that have been in the room when maybe you have overreacted to a situation. Now the same goes true for when you respond in a positive way. When someone witnesses you being positive and encouraging and helping other people, there's a positive ripple effect as well. So keep that in mind, because your positive behaviors can also affect people in a positive way. The second key skill, which is self-management strategies, there's 17 practices and strategies to improve upon that. One of them is breathe right. It's a simple step. You can take a deep breath in through your nose and then take a long exhale through your mouth, there's proven research to help you relax and reduce the stress that you have. Other strategies, these are simple, but they are working. Count to 10. And we're not talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're talking about 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. As you work through these strategies, it helps calm down your emotions. It helps you to evaluate your emotions so you can respond in a healthier way, in a more positive way, without overreacting. The third key skill, which is social awareness, there are 17 strategies in this book. Anyone can do this, even if you're a more shy person and not an outgoing person, which is greeting people by their name. It's such a simple thing to do. Our names are important to us. Our parents gave us our names. They mean something to us. And when we interact with someone and just calling somebody by their name, there's an instant connection there. And you've already improved upon that relationship and made that connection, which helps you improve upon that relation and have a connection with that individual. There's other ones about watching body language. We had talked about that and how important that is. And then our fourth key skill is relationship management. And there's 17 strategies to help build upon that and improve your scores there. One of them is avoid giving mixed signals. Another one is take feedback well. And as you are improving upon your emotional intelligence, it allows you to take that feedback well. It allows you to want to grow. It allows you to want to learn. And it's not just reading this book, but having a desire to really improve upon your emotional intelligence. Because if you do have a desire to do that, you will improve upon your emotional intelligence. All right, next let's go ahead and work through our practices. And Beth is going to talk about practice 3.
So practice 3 in our Get Better series is behave your way to credibility. So everybody wants to be a credible person. This is about your character, it's about how accountable you are, and then of course your confidence. So how are you credible? Well, it's pretty simple. Do you listen well? That's so important. People want you to hear their message. They want to believe that you are interested in them. So listening is very important to being credible. Do you think on your feet? Are you humble? Humble gets a bad rap. We're going to talk about humility later. Can you change your perspective is probably, again, one of the key factors. If I believe that I know the truth and I don't, and I'm willing to accept the fact that I may need to expand my knowledge, I am much more credible. And then are you accountable for your mistakes? So if everything is Linda's fault, then how credible am I? Of course, when you know Linda, you know that's not true. Nothing is her fault. If I blame her for everything, of course, I'm not a credible person. Practice 4, play your roles well. So this is a very personal chapter, and we're not going to be able to really address this thoroughly here. Play your roles well just means in hospice, we have a really unique environment because we think about the end of life all the time. Other industries really don't address this with their employees, so we think about this more than other people. What it's really asking you to do is just find 3 to 5 roles in your life that you find valuable, and then identify how to make your ultimate contribution. For me personally, I want to be a successful contributor at work. Work is important. I also want to be a fantastic mother and grandmother. Those are roles that are important to me. How do I ensure that at the end of my life I've made this contribution? First, I have to identify what is the contribution, and then think about at my retirement party or at my 90th birthday, if a person was toasting me or talking about me, what would I want them to say? For example, Todd Davis, who is the Chief People Officer there at Stephen Covey, he says, my most important role is to be a dad. So what does that look like? For him, he says, he hangs lights on the tent. He reads books to his kids. He rides bikes with them. He schedules time with them. And so once you've identified your roles, then you have to make sure that you schedule time. You have to make time. You have to schedule and do those things that are important every week so that you can achieve your goal. On the other side, so what happens when we don't? Well, clearly we all know. We can neglect the roles and they go away. And then we can also lose the ability to contribute. Practice 5, see the tree, not just the seedling. Really what we want to talk about is every person here has a mentor role. You know something, you have knowledge of something, you have a skill set that other people don't have. So make sure that you contribute by mentoring other people who may not have the same experience you do. So do you catch people doing great things, or do you catch people only when they do wrong things? Are you being transparent? Do you know other people's strengths and talents and weaknesses? What kind of person are you? Are you a coach? Are you a mentor? Or do you just jump into correction mode? So these are all things that we have to think about when we're mentoring other people or we're contributing to our company in that way. Practice 6. So for those of you that don't know, this is really a picture of me. I am the pinball syndrome. So this is something that I work really hard on every day. Have you ever had a day where at the end of the day you said, I have been so busy and I feel like I am just so run down. I'm exhausted and I have absolutely no idea what I've done today. That is the pinball syndrome. Sometimes when we have people in the pinball syndrome, we either need to speak to them or we need to listen to them. And one of the things that we want to talk about today is just how to do that. So if I'm really busy, I have to think about, did I create the busy? So am I seeking rewards from just being busy? So those are all personal things to do. But if I need to speak to you, I'm gonna say, I really just want to communicate. It's the best way to start any conversation. It lets people know that you have a purpose, you want to communicate. If I say this wrong, and I may, please allow me a do-over. So we all joke about this and we say we should put corn next to it because it's a little cornball and we know that. But once you do it a couple of times, it's very natural and the message is so clear. People really respond to, you realize that you're not a perfect person and that you really want to communicate about this. And if you do it wrong, you mean no harm. You want to be successful with your conversation. Sometimes we also have people that maybe think through what we're saying before we finish. So we have to ask, please let me speak through this before you respond. And really that's just saying, I know you're in a pinball syndrome and I know that you're really busy, but I really need for you to listen to me, actively listen. And then reward my courage with this difficult conversation to give me authentic feedback. Sometimes we also need to listen, so we're the listener. And we're in the pinball syndrome, right? We're so busy. Maybe we need to finish our task. Maybe we need to schedule some time. So it's okay to say, I'm so sorry. You are so important to me and I don't want to rush through this. Can I have 10 minutes to finish what I'm working on? Or can I talk to you about this tomorrow? Once you've made a commitment, be sure that you listen respectfully. And then remember, it's a huge gift to mirror. So if you have a conversation with me, I'm gonna say, so let me mirror back. And I'm gonna repeat what I heard. That helps, number one, the person know that you really are listening. And then number two, that you've thought through. So let's take a second and stand up. You know, it's been 30 minutes. I know that your legs are probably falling asleep. Let's get up, shake it off, stretch. We're gonna play a quick team building game with you. So these are our think balls. What we'd like to do is use these think balls to answer some questions and interact, but stay standing while we do this.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and gently toss one of these balls to each other, and when we do, we just look and see what is looking back at us. This one says, rephrase what you heard. What does that mean to me? With what we've been talking about today, what does rephrase what you heard mean? It means to me that I'm going to repeat what was said to me so that I can make sure that I understood correctly what was said to me. And this is a great skill and strategy to use because it not only lets the other person know that I understood what was said, but it also makes sure that I know what to do and that I'm doing the right thing and that we're clear on communications and we're going to have that effective and positive communication and outcome. Beth, what about you?
Fantastic. So mine says, if you found $5,000, how would you use it? Wow. So I'd have to make sure it wasn't lost, so I'm one of those people. But assuming that it's just $5,000 that someone actually just stuck on my doorstep for me, I think I'd probably pay bills with it.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Right. Maybe have a little bit of fun, I'm sure.
Probably a little.
All
yeah.
right. Good.
All right.
Why don't y'all practice with one another? Again, gently toss to each other, and let's see what answers you come up with.
Have fun.
Each of you should have received in your welcome kit a kind bar, and this is just a reminder to you that a little bit of kindness goes a long way. All right, does anybody remember what that first practice was in the Get Better series, there's 15 practices that we talked about. What was that first practice?
Anyone? Here's a reminder.
That's right. This is practice number 1, wear glasses at work. Try to see things from other people's perspective. As you work and practice this piece, you will be able to work on all those other practices independently. You don't have to build on one another, but you do need to master this first one before you start working on the other 14 practices.
So before we end, we'd just like to remind you that we do have these books available. If you'd like to order them, please contact your business office manager. We'll be happy to provide them for you.
We're super excited that you're here with Heart to Heart Hospice, that you've chosen to work for Heart to Heart Hospice. And truly, it's you, our employees, that make the difference. Hospices are pretty much the same from one hospice to another, but it's our people that really make the difference and helps us be the best hospice in our area. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for working hard, learning your role. We're excited to meet you. We're excited for the contributions that you're going to bring to Heart Hospice.
Welcome to Heart to Heart.